Okay, so get ready because we are going to take a deep dive straight into the heart of storytelling today.
Sounds exciting.
Right? And the sources you gave me this time are really interesting. How to say?
I tried to pick some diverse ones that would, spark some interesting discussion.
Yeah, you really succeeded because we have everything from heroes and scene crafting to like magic systems, and we even have some nods to pop culture.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like Doctor Who, Star Wars, The Last of Us.
Nice.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed going through these sources is it seems like they're all grappling with this question of like what makes a story truly resonate.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's like the fundamental question, isn't it?
Yeah.
If a story doesn't resonate, then what's the point?
Right, exactly.
It's got to connect with the audience on some level,
Yeah.
make them feel something,
Yeah, so we're going to unpack all that and more in this deep dive.
Let's do it.
All right, so, you mentioned heroes and you mentioned anti-heroes, and it seems like your sources are really kind of dissecting like what makes a character compelling,
Yeah,
even if they don't fit that, like traditional hero mold.
for sure. And it's really interesting because you have, characters like the Doctor from Doctor Who, who is, he's not your typical hero, right?
Yeah.
He's flawed, he's quirky, he can be reckless sometimes, but he has this amazing ability to inspire others to be their best selves.
Yeah.
He acts as like a catalyst for change.
Yeah. He pushes people, doesn't he? Like Donna.
Exactly. Yeah. He pushes Donna
Yeah.
to embrace her potential. And it's not just about what he does, but it's how he influences those around him.
Yeah, I like that. Like he's a force of nature, just like
Yeah.
shaking things up,
Yeah.
leaving a trail of inspiration in his wake,
Exactly.
But then you have those characters who operate in shades of gray, like the anti-heroes.
Right.
What about those guys?
Yeah. Well, and your sources delve into that as well.
Okay.
Using Joel from The Last of Us as a prime example.
Okay.
He makes some morally ambiguous choices, right?
Yeah, he does.
Driven by his love and desire to protect Ellie.
Huh?
He's a survivor. He's capable of great compassion, but also, brutal violence.
Yeah.
And what's compelling about him is that complexity.
Right.
He forces us to confront these difficult questions about morality and about survival.
Right. So he really challenges our preconceived notions of what it means to be a hero.
For sure.
Because he's flawed, right?
Right.
But his flaws make him relatable.
Yeah, totally.
And his choices, though questionable, are rooted in very human emotions.
Yeah, it's and it makes you wonder how, as writers, we can create those kinds of characters
Right.
that resonate with readers on such a deep level.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, the mechanics of scene crafting come into play. And your
Yeah.
sources really emphasize techniques like the darkest hour trope, where it's that moment in the story, where all hope seems lost.
Yeah.
The protagonist faces like insurmountable odds.
Yeah, yeah.
It's brutal. It's
It's hard to read. It's hard to watch.
yeah, it's tough, but it's incredibly effective at raising the stakes,
Mhm.
showing the true consequences of the character's choices.
Oh, like in Doctor Who, Waters of Mars?
Yes.
Where he knows that everybody on that
He knows they're doomed.
days is doomed.
Yeah.
And he can't do anything about it because of the fixed point in time.
Exactly.
Like, it's heartbreaking. It's so sad, but it is so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, you need those moments of despair
sir.
to really appreciate the triumphs.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, it's about creating that roller coaster of emotions,
Yeah.
taking the reader on a journey through darkness and light.
Hmm.
And speaking of crafting impactful scenes,
Okay.
your sources really delve into the mechanics of proactive versus reactive scenes.
Oh, no. I remember this from one of the writing books that you sent me. Proactive scenes are where the character is like driving the action, pursuing a goal, right?
Exactly.
And reactive scenes are where they're responding to something that has happened.
External forces.
It's external forces, yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And your sources suggest that understanding this distinction can be incredibly helpful when you're structuring your scenes.
Okay.
And they argue that flashbacks, for example, can be particularly effective within those reactive scenes.
Oh, okay. So it's like a flashback can provide that context
Yeah.
and emotional depth to like the character's reaction.
Exactly.
So their choices feel more authentic.
Yes.
Like in The Last Time We Say Goodbye,
Yeah.
where the flashback to that like shared moment of joy
Yes.
like makes the heartbreak in the present even more intense.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about using flashbacks strategically,
Mm-hmm.
weaving them into the narrative in a way that enhances that emotional impact
Yeah.
of the present moment.
I like that. Okay, so your sources also tackle a topic that's often pretty hard to navigate, mental illness and storytelling, especially when it comes to the world of video games.
Yeah, and that's a tricky one because games offer this incredible level of interactivity,
Right.
Which can create unique opportunities for exploring mental health, but it also raises some serious ethical considerations.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of your sources highlights Celeste as a positive example.
Okay.
Where the game incorporates this panic attack mechanic that actually models real-world therapeutic techniques.
Wow.
Turning gameplay into this form of self-care.
That's incredible.
So it's a powerful way to raise awareness and even provide players with tools for coping with their own anxiety.
It's like turning a game into interactive therapy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But you mentioned those ethical concerns. Are there games that that maybe miss the mark?
Yeah, and one of your sources raises concerns about a game called The Suicide of Rachel Foster.
Okay.
And while the intention may have been to raise awareness,
Right.
some argue that forcing players to engage with suicidal thought could be potentially harmful.
Right. So it's a delicate balance to strike.
Yeah.
You want to explore these important issues, but you also have a responsibility to not cause harm.
Absolutely.
Right. It's a reminder that we are storytellers, have a responsibility to be mindful of the impact that our work can have.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another fascinating area, magic systems.
Okay.
And your sources make this really clear distinction between hard magic and soft magic systems.
It's like a meticulously engineered machine versus like this swirling nebula, right?
Yeah.
Like hard magic systems, you see that in Full Metal Alchemist?
Yes.
They have clear rules, limitations, but then you have the soft magic systems like in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Right.
And it's ambiguous, it's unpredictable.
It's mysterious.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And your sources argue that regardless of which system you choose, the magic should always serve the story.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be there to
to get the character out of a jam.
Right, like a convenient plot device.
Right.
To avoid conflict.
It should be woven into the narrative, drive the plot, shape the characters.
Yeah, like in Avatar. The Last Airbender.
Yes.
The bending abilities are like so deeply integrated into
their world.
Like their personalities, their culture, their entire world.
Yeah, it's not just about cool superpowers.
Right.
It's fundamental to who they are and how they interact with the world.
And then your sources also talk about the challenge and opportunity of writing dragons.
Dragons, as protagonists.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they're these powerful mythical creatures.
Yeah.
But how do you make them relatable? How do you make them engaging?
Yeah.
As main characters? Well, one approach is to use what they call a reader representative character.
Okay.
Like Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon.
Right.
He acts as that bridge between the dragon's non-human perspective and the reader's understanding.
So he's like the translator for all the performative awesomeness.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or another option is to make the dragon like a perspective character.
Okay.
Capable of human-like thought and communication. But your sources caution against making dragons too human because it can diminish that sense of wonder and mystique.
Right, so they're trading their fire for a dictionary.
Exactly.
But how do you strike that balance,
Yeah.
between making them relatable but also maintaining that sense of dragonness?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a question I think your sources leave us pondering.
Yeah.
But they suggest that the answer may lie in the language we use.
Okay.
Finding ways to hint at the dragon's unique perception of the world, even if they can communicate with humans.
So even if they're talking, it's like we still get that sense that they're seeing things differently.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. From heroes to magic systems to dragons.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
It has.
So far.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, not even close.
All right, so stay tuned because we're going to delve into even more awesome storytelling stuff in part 2.
Sounds good.
All right, see you then.
See you there. All right, welcome back.
I'm ready for more. That was awesome.
Yeah, we were just talking about how to write those awesome fight scenes. And I think one thing that your sources highlight is the importance of using those scenes to reveal character.
Yeah.
It's not just about who wins and loses. Right. It's about what the fight tells us about the people who are involved.
Oh, that's a good point. I like their personality.
Yeah.
Their strengths and weaknesses, their fears.
Totally. It's all right there on the page.
Yeah.
Think about a character who fights with reckless abandon.
Okay.
What does that tell you about them?
Well, are they brave or are they foolish?
Right.
Are they just driven by anger or desperation.
Exactly. And it could even hint at their backstory.
Oh, right.
Like maybe they're so reckless because they've lost everything and they have nothing left to lose.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. And on the flip side, a character who fights with precision and control, that might reveal a disciplined mind, a strategic approach to life.
It's like their fighting style is a window into their soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
And your sources also suggest that fight scenes can be a great way to advance the plot.
Okay.
A fight can be a turning point in the story, leading to these unexpected consequences.
Okay.
Or revealing some crucial information.
Oh, like in Star Wars, when Darth Vader reveals he's Luke's father.
Exactly.
Changes everything.
Totally. It's not just an action sequence.
Yeah.
It's a pivotal moment that really propels that narrative forward.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So we talked about fight scenes. What about another kind of challenging element of storytelling? Flashbacks.
Oh, yeah, flashbacks.
We touched on this briefly before.
Yeah, we did.
But your sources have a lot to say about using those effectively.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious about this.
Yeah, so one thing that they emphasize is the importance of linking flashbacks to the present narrative.
Right. It can't just be like a random interruption.
Right.
Or just to like dump information.
It has to have a purpose.
Yeah.
It has to connect to what's happening now.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And they should enrich the present narrative by, providing context for a character's actions or deepening our understanding of their motivations and emotions.
Yeah, I remember one of the sources talked about avoiding those filter words.
Yes.
Like remembered or realized.
Yeah, those create a distance, don't they?
Yeah, it's less immersive.
Yeah, exactly. So by getting rid of those filter words, you can create a more seamless transition.
Right. It's like we're stepping right into their mind and reliving that past with them.
Exactly.
But what about flashbacks that deal with trauma?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah, you want to explore that, but you don't want to be, exploitative.
Right. It's a delicate balance for sure.
Yeah.
And your sources suggest that when you're depicting trauma in flashbacks, it's really crucial to focus on the lasting effects.
Okay.
How does the trauma continue to shape the character?
Right.
Their thoughts, their feelings, their actions.
Yeah, it's not just about showing like the event itself. It's about like those ripples, right?
Yeah.
Like how it affects them after the fact.
Yeah, the emotional and psychological scars, the triggers, the coping mechanisms, how they're either healing or struggling to heal from that experience.
But it's also important to remember that memories, especially traumatic ones, aren't always reliable.
So true.
They'd be like fragmented, distorted, blocked out completely.
And your sources remind us that the past is subjective.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So we can use flashbacks to explore that subjectivity, to show how a character's memory of an event might differ from what actually happens.
So there's no single truth.
Right.
When it comes to the past.
Right.
Just different
perspectives.
And those differences can be really powerful in a story.
Absolutely. You can use flashbacks to play with the reader's perception, challenge their assumptions, create a sense of mystery and intrigue.
Okay, so flashbacks can be really versatile.
They are.
Like they can provide context, they can
deepen characterization.
Yeah, explore trauma, create mystery, play with time.
It's like a time machine for storytellers.
But we have to use them carefully, right?
Yeah, we do.
Make sure they're serving the story.
Absolutely, and not disrupting it. Okay. And when they're used effectively, they can really elevate the narrative from a simple sequence of events to a profound exploration of the human experience.
Yeah, it's like those threads that connect the different parts of a tapestry.
Beautiful.
They weave together the past and the present to reveal those patterns.
Yeah, I love that analogy.
That make up a character's life.
It's perfect.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about magic systems.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so
fun.
Your sources go a lot deeper into this idea of like creating compelling and believable magic systems. And one thing that they emphasize is that like magic systems are more than just a set of rules and limitations. They can be a way to explore themes, develop characters, even just to create a sense of wonder.
Totally. They could be the beating heart of the story, not just like a cool special effect.
Think about the Stormlight Archives again. The way that Sanderson connects the Knight's Radiance powers to their oaths and their growth, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like their magic isn't just about what they can do.
Right.
It's about who they are. as people.
Their struggles, their triumphs.
Yeah, it's like an extension of their very being.
Exactly.
It grows as they grow.
Yeah, it adds this whole other layer of depth and meaning to the story.
It's not just like,
superpowers.
Superpowers.
Is that right?
It's about their inner journey. You
Yeah.
know, and how their magic reflects their growth.
Exactly. And it's not just limited to epic fantasy.
Right.
Even in a story like Avatar,
Yeah.
the bending abilities are so deeply connected to the characters' personalities, their cultural heritage.
Like Zuko's struggle to master lightning bending.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about
Learning a
new technique. It was about his
inner turmoil.
Yeah.
His journey towards redemption.
It's like those moments where magic intersects with character development that make it truly captivating.
For sure.
Like the magic becomes a mirror reflecting those inner struggles and triumphs,
Yeah.
Another challenge that I think writers face when creating these magic systems is power escalation.
Oh, yeah.
How do you make the growth of magical abilities believable?
It's tough.
Both within a story and across a series.
Yeah, you want to give them room to grow.
Yeah.
But you don't want to get out of control.
Right.
So your sources offer some great advice on navigating this challenge.
Okay.
One suggestion is to tie power escalation to the narrative itself.
Okay.
As the stakes rise, the threats become more dangerous.
Right.
It makes sense for the characters to, level up as well.
Like in The Magicians.
Yes.
They start out pretty grounded, but by book 3.
They're practically gods.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. Because the threats are more powerful.
Right.
More cosmic in scale.
Yeah, but power escalation isn't just about making things bigger and flashier.
Right.
Your sources talk about the importance of setting limits.
Yes, limits.
Limits, but isn't magic about limitless possibilities?
It's tempting to think that way.
Yeah.
But even in a world of magic, there should be boundaries, constraints.
Oh,
your sources call it establishing a power ceiling.
Like that.
Right.
Yeah, so even magic has rules.
Yeah.
Regulations.
It's not a free-for-all.
Yeah, so establishing those limits can make things more tense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if magic can solve any problem, then there is no challenge.
Right. What's the point?
Yeah, it's like playing a video game with cheat codes. Where's the fun in that?
Exactly. You want to feel like you earned it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's about creating a framework where magic is both powerful but also constrained. So the choices the characters make are more meaningful.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And sometimes you'll encounter beings or entities that seem to defy those limitations.
Okay.
And your sources call them incomparable.
Incomparables, that sounds...
It sounds intimidating. Yeah.
Right.
Godlike figures, ancient artifacts, forces of nature.
Okay.
They possess this level of power that's almost beyond comprehension.
It's like the ultimate power move.
Right. They can add a sense of awe and wonder.
Yeah.
But they can also be tricky.
Okay.
If you're not careful, they can overshadow everything.
Right. Make the other characters feel insignificant.
Exactly. It's like they suck all the air out of the room. Right?
Yeah.
So your sources suggest using incomparables strategically, maybe as a distant threat, a source of mystery, a catalyst for change.
Okay.
But they shouldn't dominate the narrative.
It's like adding a pinch of spice.
Yeah.
Too much can overwhelm the dish.
Exactly. You want to find that balance between awe and accessibility.
Okay. I like that.
Now let's talk about another concept
that
your sources emphasize. Carrot challenges.
Carrot challenges, okay?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. What are those?
So a carrot challenge is a type of obstacle
Okay.
that encourages characters to develop their abilities
Okay.
or explore new aspects of the magic system.
So it's not just about fighting bigger, badder enemies.
Right. It's not just about brute force.
Right.
It's about cleverness, ingenuity,
Yeah.
a deeper understanding of how the magic works.
Like those puzzles in video games.
Yes.
That make you think outside the box.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
And so carrot challenges make that power progression feel
Yeah.
more natural, more earned.
Okay.
It's not just random, they're pushing their limits,
Yeah.
discovering your true potential.
So it's making the journey just as important as the destination.
Exactly.
It's not just about the power they gain.
Right.
It's about how they gain it.
It's about the struggles, the insights, the aha moments
Right.
that lead them to that point.
Okay, that makes sense.
And speaking of journeys, let's talk about how we can use flashbacks to enhance those journeys
Okay.
and create richer, more compelling narratives.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so we were talking about flashbacks and how they can really add so much depth to a story.
Yeah, it's like they give you this ability to, jump back and forth through time.
Right.
And reveal these hidden layers of a character's life.
And your sources had some interesting things to say about how flashbacks can be even more effective. Especially when you think about them in relation to the idea of proactive versus reactive scenes.
Right, exactly.
So how do flashbacks fit into that whole framework?
Well, your sources suggest that they can be particularly powerful when used within those reactive scenes.
Okay.
Where a character is responding to something that's happened.
Right. So the flashback helps to explain why they're reacting that way.
Exactly. It provides context, it adds depth.
Right. So it makes their reactions feel more believable, more emotionally resonant.
Exactly. Like imagine a character reacting angrily to something that seems pretty minor.
Okay.
A flashback could reveal a past trauma that makes that anger understandable.
Right, even if it seems out of proportion to the present situation.
Exactly. It's like the flashback gives us a glimpse into their emotional baggage.
Right, those invisible scars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that brings us to another important point about flashbacks.
Okay.
They can be really powerful for depicting trauma.
But that's a tricky thing to do, right?
It is. It's a very delicate balance.
Because you want to explore the trauma, but you don't want to exploit it.
Right.
Or be gratuitous about it.
Yeah, and your sources stress the importance of handling trauma with care and sensitivity, and they suggest that flashbacks can be a really good tool for showing those lasting effects of trauma.
Okay.
How it ripples through a character's life long after the event itself.
So it's not just about showing the event, it's about showing the aftermath.
Yeah, the healing process or the lack thereof.
Right.
Exploring those emotional and psychological scars, the triggers.
Right, the coping mechanisms.
Exactly, and how they're either navigating that healing journey or grappling with the ongoing impact.
Yeah, it's like showing those invisible wounds.
Yeah.
That run deep.
Yeah, they don't always fade.
And shape a person, long after the physical scars are gone.
Absolutely.
But it's also important to remember that memories, especially traumatic ones, aren't always reliable.
That's so true.
They can be fragmented, distorted, blocked out completely.
Absolutely. And your sources remind us that the past is subjective.
That's a good point, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can use flashbacks to kind of explore that subjectivity to show how a character's memory of an event might differ from what actually happened.
So there's no single truth.
Right.
When it comes to the past.
Just different perspectives.
Different perspectives, yeah.
Interpretations.
And those differences can be really powerful in a story.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can use flashbacks to play with the reader's perception.
Right.
Challenge their assumptions. Create that sense of mystery and intrigue.
So we're not always sure what to believe.
Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting.
And sometimes the most effective flashbacks are revealed gradually, like pieces of a puzzle.
Oh, okay.
Right,
Yeah.
leading to this aha moment.
Right, like in Story of Your Life, those memories were all jumbled up.
Yeah.
And then they slowly reveal the truth.
Yeah, and it challenges our perception of time and reality.
It's a good example.
And it reminds us that flashbacks can be so much more than just, exposition or backstory.
Right, they can be a key part of the story itself.
Absolutely. They can enrich the narrative, challenge the reader to engage on a deeper level.
Wow, so we've covered a lot today, from heroes and magic systems.
I know, it's been a whirlwind.
To fight scenes and flashbacks, it's like we took a masterclass in storytelling.
Yeah, and we've just scratched the surface.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Storytelling is so vast.
Yeah.
And it's always evolving.
So what you're saying is there's always more to learn.
Always.
Well, I am feeling very inspired.
That's great.
Yeah, can't wait to apply all this to my own writing.
I'm excited to see what you come up with.
Thank you so much for guiding me on this deep dive.
It's my pleasure.
It's been awesome.
Happy writing.